Okay, so you have to understand the context of the community and the history and the current state of the language, the current state of the community, because different interventions or different protocols will be necessary depending on, or likely to work depending on, where you are on that continuum of endangerment, from threatened to nearly extinct or whatever. Okay, or to extinct even, or dormant or inactive. There's various terms. It's people. A lot of people don't like the term extinct because it implies can never come back or whatever. And with language, if it's been documented in theory, at least it can come back. Now it's very difficult, but Hebrew shows that a language can be revitalized to be fully functional again. But in the case of Hebrew, and this is true of most of the places where you've had successful revitalization movements on a macro level, is that there is one language basically that's being promoted, often through a state apparatus and with adequate financial resources. Okay, so that's something that is true about anything, is that unless there's will, political will put behind it and money put behind it, it's not likely to succeed on a macro level. But that said, some restoration of functions and some restoration of domains is still good for other languages, even if right now the current economic and political realities don't allow it to be promoted in that particular way. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done at all. It just means that you have to have perhaps less lofty expectations of what the at least initial activities are going to yield. But like I said, like Hawaiian in Hawaii here in the U.S. Well, I noticed you guys were at something to do with Cardiff, so like in Welsh and in Wales, where you have Maori in New Zealand, where you have actual successes of sort of stopping the shift a little bit and sort of starting it to come back a little bit. You have basically there's both some political support and also some financial backing for it, and those are just realities that we need to accept.
In our third episode, we learned about the significance of the impact that language policies can have on the landscape of lingua francas. And here we bump into language politics again, this time when talking about language preservation and revival. Indeed, when researching language revival successes to cover in this episode, I encountered none that had not been driven by a political force.